Welcome to Bold Talk series where creativity, leadership, ideas, innovation come together. My name is Ludvik, and today I have a privilege to have a short one-on-one conversation with Grant Powell, the founder of Curios. Grant, great seeing you and welcome to our Bold Talk series. How are you?
Likewise, I'm doing well. Thanks. Great to see you again. Always a pleasure.
Awesome, man. Life is good?
Life is good. Kids are keeping me busy. Startups keeping me busy, but can't complain.
Awesome. That's great. Well, let's dive with some good questions and see what you're up to. First, give us a an overview about Curious and its mission and realm of distribution and monetization for content creation.
Absolutely. So, Curios started with a pretty simple mission of trying to make Web3 technologies easier for people because they're new and they're very tech focused and complicated. Curios, once we dove into that space of Web3 technologies, realized the power of Web3 technologies to give creators new tools for monetizing and distributing their content and building a community. And Curios has remained focused on that with a mission of empowering creators using the latest technologies available.
That's awesome. So obviously the leading, it's hard. Leadership, definitely it's hard. Um, Running a startup, it's definitely hard. As a leader, what leadership principles have been crucial to success and growth of your platform?
Yeah, great question. Everybody has a different approach as in a leadership position, and everybody manages in a different way. But for me, some of the things that matter most in terms of leadership are actually leading with empathy. And this is not only a part of how we manage our team, but how we approach our go-to-market strategy, because we are empathetic towards creators and the challenges that they face in getting noticed and monetizing their content so that they can continue to pursue their passion. So empathy being like an overarching style or theme in how we work. But a big focus for me as a leader is teaching people the difference between the illusion of work and actually accomplishing work. A lot of startups play really good at the game of startup, where they're incorporating and fundraising and doing all these to-dos, but are they actually building anything? Are they actually making an impact for their target demographic? And so leading with empathy and teaching everybody to focus on the real work. For me, actually being a relatively new father, with my hands being busy on the family side, it's actually taught me even more about focusing on the things that matter. There's a million things to do in a day, and most of them feel or are really important, but there's no way you can do them all. You have to find the ones that are the single most important thing for moving the needle, focus on that thing, then move on to the next one.
Yeah, that very, very good way to put it. Actually, I just tweeted the other day. I said the micromanagement demotivates and all this tasking, right? Going through like all those ones where the empathy, empowerment liberates. So be able to have that type of focus, and as you said, like focus on the things that really matters the most. The key here. So,
Yeah.
so what principles guide your approach to this leadership?
Well, kind of continuing the topic, there's this idea of intrinsic motivation. So, external motivation is where you as a boss have to, like you said, micromanage, and here's all the things you need to do and get them done, and I'm going to track them to make sure that they're done. But intrinsic motivation is teaching people about how to prioritize what's important and having them share the vision and the passion of the company so that they automatically know how to answer the question of what should I be working on and what's a priority. And then they can self-motivate and self-manage without the boss or management layers having to be involved.
Nice. Well, your platform is about the monetizing and distribution of for content creation. Uh, Tell us a little bit more in terms of the your platform, Curious, fostering creativity in such an aspect. Obviously, we're living in times where things are changing so fast. You got to be very dynamic and applying that level of a high level innovation when it comes to your platform.
Sure. Well, specifically on fostering creativity, I look at the idea of unshackling creators. Technology, although powerful, can actually be a burden to creators because they're not technologists. And particularly with Web3 and crypto and creating a wallet and minting an NFT, like what is this stuff? And if you're a creator whose passion is art or music or writing, how do you leverage that stuff without being encumbered by the learning curve required to utilize that technology? And so, in order to empower creators to do what they do best, which is create, Curios focuses on abstracting the complexities of those products or those technologies into easy to use products. So, unshackling the creator so that they can continue to focus on their creativity and not worry about the technology. That's a big part of why we started the company, and it's still true today.
And how are you positioned? How are you positioned to lead in this landscape?
Well, we're very product forward, which means that we've spent way more time and resources on building our platform versus marketing and building a hype engine, perhaps to a fault. But we believe that the features available in our platform are not only some of the most expansive and robust, but also the easiest to use. And we continue to focus on that in Web3 and crypto specifically. People put decentralization first. It's one of the core principles or core tenets of what would be described as Web3. But with decentralization comes challenges, difficulties, some of the stuff I already mentioned. What we do is we actually put the user first. And we say, how can we make this an easy experience for the user while still leveraging the benefits of decentralization and Web3 technology? And it's that continued focus, which we used to be chastised for initially. For example, we would take credit card payments to mint things on chain versus only taking crypto payments. And that was a big no-no. Now everybody does it. We're putting the user first then, we're putting the user first now, and that's going to continue to help us lead.
Interesting. So people will have an issue with having a credit card used first. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because it was, fiat credit card payments are considered not decentralized, which they aren't.
Yeah,
And so therefore not true to, the benefits of Web3 technologies.
yeah.
However, if used appropriate as an on-ramping mechanism, it still honors and delivers the decentralized benefits while making it easier for the user to get into those benefits.
Yeah, otherwise there's no real experience, right?
Right. That's like, I mean, here's an analogy, right? You're going to see a doctor. You're going to get a lot of benefits from the doctor, but in order to see the doctor, you have to walk up 300 flights of stairs. It's like, well, that's just too difficult. Let's just put an elevator in, and then they can see the doctor faster.
I like that. That's a great analogy. Now, where do you get the trends that's happening in your space? Where's you get the inspiration, the trends, and the intelligence in the marketplace?
It's tough because a lot of the trends that I do see actually don't interest me. Not least of which is like the NFT PFPs, they call them. These were the things like Bored Ape Yacht Club. Those trends were what everybody was talking about and everybody was focused on, and I still am not really interested, to be honest. Um, I think to be a forward-looking and future-proofed platform, you have to ask questions that people aren't asking, and a lot of times, it leads you down the wrong path, but sometimes it leads you down the right path. One of the topics that we're very focused on as a team and a company and future-looking is the concept of ownership. Very heavily focused on that for digital content, copyrights, and related things, but also ownership for tangible things like collectibles and real estate. And one topic that I see is very important is this idea that ownership is disappearing, particularly for younger generations. And to get back to your question, I don't know where that concept came from because not many people are talking about it. It's something that we ask ourselves the questions of where are problems, what are the trends that we see, and yeah, I don't always follow the existing trends that are out there.
Hmm. You mentioned ownership is disappearing. Is this something that is being pushed by by centralized powers, or just the fact that this is where the society is heading?
I think that's an amazing question. And I don't have all the answers. I do believe that ownership is disappearing. Why is a big question. I think a lot of it has to do with the centralization of wealth. So ownership is oftentimes tied to monetary means. For example, if you're going to own a really rare master work of art, you have to have the money to buy $1 million painting. if you're going to own a piece of real estate, whether to live in or as an investment, you've got to have 20% down to purchase that property. And so there's a lot of talk about people about how the rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer. Another way to say that is the centralization of wealth. And I think that centralization of wealth creates an inability for the majority to grasp ownership.
Yeah, I think this is also another great conversation to have next time. But I truly believe that we're living in a day and age where a fiat money system is about to end. However,
Mm-hmm.
we are looking at the new system, which is uh, a lot scarier than fiat. I would say the
Sure.
CBDCs. What's your
Sure.
take on that?
On what specifically?
On the CBDCs, like what's coming?
You know, I'm certainly not an economist. I do think that there's a fundamental problem with currencies and economies for that matter. I mean, they're hand in hand. I think there's a problem with the fact that through fiat currencies and banks, we cannot transact 24/7. Some ways you can. You get your debit card, your credit card, maybe that can work, but like you can't wire large sums or do big transactions. Of course, with cryptocurrency you can, but that comes with its own challenges. It's also, hard to understand how one currency rises while another one falls, and the relationship of Bitcoin to the dollar. Well, is that because Bitcoin is more valuable, or because the dollar has become more weak based on our government doing and taking inflationary actions? Um, and again, not being an economist, I don't really know. When we talk about uh, currencies and economics, what we focus on is direct commerce. So how can people take whatever currencies are the ones at play, or the ones that they use, and give them the ability to transact directly 24/7? How that applies in the context of ownership would be, again, the ability to break into ownership, and things like fractionalization come into play. So if you can't afford a whole house, you could buy part of a house as an investment, and creating liquidity so that if you do buy into something, you can sell or trade that ownership to liquidate the funds you need to do other things. So I don't know if I'm answering your question directly, but those are some of the thoughts I have around the topic.
Yeah, it's there. What does the future hold for Curious, Grant?
I really plan on leaning into this concept of powering ownership. Right now, it's very much applied to creators, people who are creating, primarily digital content. But the concept applies universally. Again, I touched on real estate and collectibles, for example. And I think that the more we can give people the tools to make ownership feasible, accessible, liquid, the more we're going to power not just creators, but everybody to participate in those sorts of economic transactions, versus it being left to the centralized ultra wealthy.
Yeah. Do you see a an integration somewhere down the line with the as the Vision Pro will be rolled out in the market, and the virtual reality being pushed? Do you see that integration happening in the space?
Yeah, so I see virtual reality and those kind of technologies, augmented reality, in two possible paths. One is entertainment, gaming, huge, going to continue to grow. You
Mm.
have esports now, and they're going to continue to be a real thing. And everybody's always looking for entertainment, and virtual reality and gaming provides very powerful entertainment. The other path is going to be professional services, potentially, right? So this is already being used in some cases where doctors are virtually performing surgeries remotely and stuff like that. So I think there's some really powerful professional tools and some really powerful entertainment tools. And of course, the entertainment tools will be where creators come in, right? They could be doing virtual concerts, or they could have their music be a part of an immersive experience. Immersive experiences are fundamentally creative driven, right? They're visually immersive, their audio immersion. And so I think they are going to be a very big part of the future for both professionals, professional services, and creators.
Nice. What does bold mean to you? The word bold.
Bold to me means taking risks, and not being afraid of what people think of you. Sometimes you'll see me post on LinkedIn or tweet about something that is maybe an idea that people don't agree with me on. But I feel bold enough to be able to, draw a line in the sand and say, this is what I believe in, regardless of what you think of me.
Yeah. Yeah, usually most of people are afraid of what other people think of, right?
Right.
Or being controversial. Um, it's great. Any bold thoughts, final thoughts?
Um, I think the boldest thought I have is to ask yourself the hard questions of like, what am I doing to make progress and innovate today, and not lying to yourself about it. Being bold is being honest with yourself about what matters and what you should be focused on and what direction you're headed.
That's awesome. Like that. Being bold is being honest with yourself. Always be bold, my friend. Congrats on all your achievements. Congrats on being again a father. And thank you for joining me in this Bold Talk series. Until next time, take care, be great, and be bold always.
Thank you, sir.